Eric Kihoro is a fleet tire expert with over 30 years of hands-on experience in the transport industry.
So I can be to help fleets remove their tire headache so that they can focus on their full business.
He has worked with major fleet operators, walked hundreds of yards, inspected thousands of failed tires, and helped companies recover millions in hidden losses caused by underinflation and poor tire management.
Kenya is a left-hand country, so because of that, their tires on the left wear faster than the ones on the right.
Most fleet owners think tire cost is just a line item. Eric sees it as a profit system. He is the author of 8 Secrets to Make Millions in Profit from Fleet Tire Costs, where he breaks down the patterns he's observed over 3 decades and shows how small operational changes can extend tire life by up to 40%.
But done correctly, it can save the fleet more than 50% of its tire cost.
Through his training programs, plant visits, and industry talks, he helps fleet managers stop reacting to tire failures and start controlling them. In this conversation, we get into the hidden costs quietly draining your fleet, why most of what you think you know about tires is wrong,
There is actually no best truck tire to use.
and the simple systems that could change everything. Eric Kihoro.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So what's your name?
My name is Eric. I am basically a tire expert. I help fleets to do what you call tire management because we have realized over time that many people, let's say all people don't buy trucks to do tire management. Everybody buys trucks to transport goods and to do various tasks. But sadly, they end up focusing half of their time on something that they did not buy the truck to focus on. And this is where I come in. So I come in to help fleets remove their tire headache so that they can focus on their full business, which is transport. Then I focus tire management, helping them to gain and save money in the tire management space, using various tools, various products, and of course, experience in the things that should be done, how they should be done in order to work together to generate the right result. Wow, that's a good question. Tire management is the follow-up of a tire first, from cradle to grave. When I say that, I mean from the time it was purchased, sometimes even from when it was manufactured, all the way until it will be scrapped. Now, in tire management, there are other things that come into play because, of course, you're buying the product at a cost, and anything you buy at a port then has a value, becomes an asset. And so tire management has over time mutated from actual tire maintenance, which is what it was before, and it has now become asset management. Because when you look at asset management versus maintenance, it's a bit of a different issue because now you're dealing with cost. We're dealing with how much do you invest of which item so that you get the highest return. Because whenever you get an asset, you want the asset that gives you the highest return. And that is what tires are about right now. It's really not about maintenance. It's really even not about performance. It's mainly about getting a return on investment on the asset. So tire management per se is asset management for tires. Wow, I guess I've explained what tire management is. So tire maintenance is really making the tire or taking certain actions that make the tire meet the need for which it was acquired. For example, you bought a tire in order to transport cement all the way from let's say Simba Cement all the way to Nakuru or Tororo or Kisumu, wherever. So you want a tire that's going to give you maximum mileage on the highway. Now, tire maintenance is actually mastering the correct pressure, the correct matching of that tire, the correct vehicle placement in terms of positioning. It's the selection of the product in order to know which is the best one. So tire maintenance is purely not where you just inflate the tire or just mount the tire. No, it has more to do with, after you buy it, what do you do to it for it to achieve the maximum result that you wanted it to be. So you can put it in the right position, you can make sure it is correctly mounted on the rim, you can make sure the rim is correctly cleaned, you can make sure the valve is the correct one, it's tightened, the valve core is correct, you can make sure the cap is correct, you can make sure that the nuts are tightened to the right torque. So all these things are important when you are measuring, when you're doing tire maintenance. So that's the difference between tire maintenance, which is taking care of the asset, versus tire management, which is managing the asset, or even from acquisition all the way to the end. Good tire management is a combination of various factors. Now, the most important, of course, is understanding what you want to do with the product you buy. Because if you approach tire management from a tire point of view, you might just get probably the cheapest tire or the tire you think is the best, but is not the most applicable to what you want to be. So tire management, number one, begins by identifying what you want to be. Okay? Now, once you identify that I want to transport cement, or I want to collect clinker, or I want to go and carry sand from the river, or I want to transport flour, or I want to transport a petroleum product. So depending on what you want to do, then the actions you take as regards tires, what you acquire, how you manage them, the staff you employ to take care of them, who you source from, how you retread those tires, how soon they come back to you, how soon the vehicles are stopped, all that is tire management. So tire cost per kilometer is probably, I could say, one of the most challenging things for fleet to achieve. Why? Because there are three different groups of factors. Remember, not one factor, but three groups of factors. And these three groups of factors, each group of factors has got certain criteria to check. For example, the first group of factors is the product categories. Now, for you to know the correct cost per kilometer, first you need to know what size of tire are we talking about? What make of tire are we talking about? What model of tire are we talking about? What retread design has been put on it if it's a retread? What method of retreading has been used to retread that tire? And finally, who is the retreader that retreaded that tire? So that's the product group that affects cost per kilometer. The second issue is the group that affects the application or the operation. Now, which route is the vehicle going to do? Is it going to Rwanda? Is it going to Mombasa? Is it going to Kigali? Where is it going to? Because the route is going to change everything. Then there is the position. Are you going to fit it in front? Are you going to fit it in the diff? Are you going to fit it in the trailer? In the trailer, is it going to be the first axle, the middle axle, the last axle? Is it going to be on the left or the right? Kenya is a left-hand country. So because of that, their tires on the left wear faster than the ones on the right. And so all those influence the cost per kilometer. And then, what is the cargo that this truck is carrying? Is it carrying petroleum? Is it carrying gas? Is it carrying cement? Is it carrying flour? Is it the cargo? The work that it does affects the cost per kilometer, because a vehicle that is going to transport stones from the quarry will not have the same cost per kilometer as the one that is working on the highway. So these factors really do affect. And so it's important that that group of factors is looking. Now, we've looked at the group regarding the product and the group regarding the application, but we are assuming that the third group is held constant. But you will realize that group is not usually constant. What is that? That is the operational factors. Operational factors meaning how is the driver driving? What's the driving habit? What is the age of the vehicle? Newer vehicles will perform better, will have a better cost per kilometer than old vehicles. What is the trip that it's going to do? Is it doing start-stop in the city, or is it doing continuous long distance? So those factors will help. What is the maintenance of the tire? For a company that does not maintain its tires well, the cost per kilometer of tires generally will be low. For fleets that maintain their vehicles well, their cost per kilometer will be also lower. So it's important that we look at product factors, application factors, remembering that there is a whole operational factoring that also needs to be held constant. And that is why when I say fleet tire cost per kilometer, these are the factors that affect how a tire performs.
Hi, my name is Eric, your tire expert. These videos have been sponsored by Masai Kenya Limited. Masai Kenya Limited have been a great sponsor of mine to make sure that these videos go out and everybody learns how to control their tire costs so that there's a general benefit all across the industry. Masai Kenya transports cement, they transport clinker for Simba Cement, they also sell fertilizer, they do pumps, they do cabling, and for any contacts, you can contact them and they will give you excellent service. Thank you.
Well, you brought up a good point about fleet cost per kilometer. So the first thing I normally recommend to fleets is don't work blind. Because as the great management principle that says that whatever cannot be measured cannot be managed. And so when a fleet tries to reduce cost and they already don't know what the cost is, so what are you reducing? And so it's very important to measure in order to reduce. So fleet cost per kilometer is really your rubber consumption divided by the mileage that the fleet is doing. Now, how would you then do the tire maintenance in order to achieve a lower fleet cost per kilometer? Now, for a tire to perform, it needs good pressure. For a tire to perform, it needs to be matched with a tire that is matching to each partner to the other, or the tires on the left versus the tires on the right. Then tires also need to be rotated. We know our roads are not flat. They have a curve. And if the tire has a curve, that means some tires were faster than others overcurrent. That means if you keep them in the same position, they will fail because then they will wear out faster. So you need to rotate them. And then also alignment. Every vehicle wears out the bushes and the parts of a tire. So aligning the vehicles and correcting the mechanical condition is also very important. And of course, finally and most importantly, the tire pressure maintenance. The tire pressure needs to be kept at the acceptable level. And when I say the word acceptable, I'm saying this is something for the fleet to find out, because what is acceptable for transporting petroleum is not acceptable for transporting cement. Because in petroleum, you go full, you return empty. But in cement, you may go full and return full with another type of loose cargo. So it's important to know what pressure is correct for your application. So these are what the fleet should look at. Now, this task can be quite demanding, and that's why I recommend basically that people use Bluetooth tools. And Bluetooth tools, they help you to capture the data. This helps you to capture the pressure. You connect these two together, and they're various brands. So you connect this to this one, and when the two of them are together, you use it with a tablet, and you have software on the tablet that captures the tread depth and captures the pressure. These two details, continually captured for all the vehicles and corrected over time, will give the fleet a very good tire maintenance regime. Wow, that's a very good question. Now, retreading per se is a very old art. It's basically the art of renewing rubber, putting a new rubber on top of a used casing. That is the age-old knowledge of retreading. Now, depending on how you put the new rubber on the old casing, there comes in the challenge. Because if you don't do it correctly, using the correct material, the two can separate. And if they separate, then you're going to have a failed tire on the highway and your vehicle will not complete the journey. Number two, if the casing which you're putting the rubber on has not been inspected correctly, then you end up with a failed casing, even though the rubber and the retreading process are okay. So you need a good casing that has been inspected properly, and then a rubber that will last and will operate in the job that you want to do, that has been processed correctly to be attached to the casing. That process called together can be quite challenging if you don't have. I know that companies like Auto Express have a process they call X-threading, which is retreading with extra, which is 8 extra steps than what the normal retreader does. They have chirography, they have puncture detection, they've got there's 8 extra steps that they do to actually ensure that the process has much less failures. And I think the statistics they gave me was that they have probably less than 1% failure over all the tires in the market. So it's the retreading process can have challenges, because then you can have all those items that are mentioned going wrong, but done correctly, it can save the fleet more than 50% of its tire cost. So that's a benefit, but also there lies a challenge. Yeah. So what I view as Eric, number one, as I said, what cannot be measured cannot be managed. So the first thing I do to any fleet is to assist the fleet to measure its cost. Because if we can measure the cost together, then we can reduce it together. So the first thing I would do is measure the cost. If we can't measure the cost, then we would not have a path of progress. And so what I do is help fleets measure the cost. So I have systems that help fleets do that, and we can meet off the camera and I can explain how that works. But in a nutshell, we take the value of the whole fleet, okay, in the first month, and then we take the purchases that are done in that fleet over the next 3 to 4 months, and then finally we take the cost again, and then once we work out the rubber consumption, we divide that with the tire kilometers, and we get the fleet cost per kilometer. So that becomes a measurable item and element that we can push and focus on all the future. Then from there, we apply our Bluetooth tools, our software, our maintenance, our expertise to bring that cost per kilometer that we have measured all the way down. So that's what I generally do. It takes about 4 to 6 months to measure cost for a fleet of about 2 to 300 trucks. And after that, it takes us about 2 years to reduce the cost up to about 40%. Oh, wow. There is actually no best truck tire to use. Best is not determined by the type. Best is actually determined by availability, by your ability to pay for it, because you may have a very good tire, so-called good, but you can't afford it. So it's not the best. There may be a best tire that everybody says is good, but it's not available in your country. So best is really, really subject to the fleet that is using it. Can they buy it? Is it available? And if it's available, can it be delivered on time so that they can use it to make the journey? Because if there's a good tire, it's available, they can buy it, but it will only be brought to them next week and they want to travel now, then that's not the best tire, because then the best is what they can afford, what can do the job, and what can be delivered now. And in that sense, there is no best tire per se. Actually, the supplier is what determines what is best, because then they give conditions around the product that make it perform very well and support the fleet to meet its core business, which is transportation. That's the age-old question that every transporter asks me when I recommend a product. And the answer to that question is no, I can't. Why is that? The reason is, as I had pointed out earlier, there are 6 product factors and 5 application variables that affect performance. Assuming another 5 operational issues, and those operational issues are like driving habit, tire maintenance, vehicle maintenance, route conditions. All those conditions are what affects the tire to perform. So unless I know all those things at the time the customer is asking me the tire performance, I will not be able to predict. Of course, salespeople will say what they want to say in order to make a sale. But I would say it's not possible to give a direct answer that because you've chosen this product, even if it's well known, how much mileage will it give you? Then I must ask you, which size? When you're going to fit it where? How are you going to maintain it? What work are you going to do with it? How often will you rotate it? And usually those questions cannot be answered by the fleet at the time of purchase. And because they can't answer those questions, then I am also not able to give a factor that says this tire will do 200,000 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers. I'm not able to. And that's the reason. Because there are very many factors that affect tire performance.
Thank you so much, Eric, for your time. It's been an insightful session. Hope to hear from you again.
Thank you very much.